Africa TV Pre-Go Studio Live 2020 GSL Season 3 Korea's Last Stand.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another day here of the GSL Codes. This is the second half of the round of 8. I'm especially excited about our first match. I want to see how Armani is going to do, having now gotten this far.
Can he go further?
Can he go further?
Maybe.
And, of course, Maru versus Trap. That's just going to be a good series. I think Maru probably takes that, but I would welcome a Trap win as well.
Yeah, that one's really hard to predict. I think it's, yeah. I honestly can't even predict. I have no idea who's going to win that. I think that they're pretty evenly matched, but they're teammates. They know each other play. Should be difficult to read why they're doing certain things because of that.
Yeah, for sure. So we've been trucking through this GSL and ASL. It's been 2 very busy months of StarCraft 1 and 2. Do be sure to join us on our sister tournament, the ASL, which is also on Sundays and Tuesdays. 7 p.m. KST. We already have TY versus Stats in one half of the round of 4. That's going to be a great match as well. And here's our lineup for today.
2 of these players will be in the round of 4 as well. You know, one of my favorite developing storylines from this tournament, by the way, Tasteless, is that Zest could end up being the winningest Protoss. Well, I guess he already is tied for it, but
yeah.
You can't look at the bracket and who's remaining and tell me that Zest has no chance to win this tournament, because he absolutely has a chance.
He's looking very good, too, lately. Again, Armani is a player that in the past was basically around at 24, maybe on his best day around of 16 player, but here he is in the round of 8. We have a quick interview.
Before we get into the round of 8 day 2 match, we're going to have a pre-game interview with the 2 players. And these 2 players are extremely nervous ahead of today's match. Armani has achieved his first ever round of 8, and Zest has moved on to this round of 8 in 1 year. Hello. Hello.
네, 먼저 박진혁 선수입니다.
So Armani,
GSL 시작한 지 6년 만에
it's been 6 years since you first started GSL. So, how do you feel?
아직까진 똑같은 것 같아요.
Well, I feel pretty indifferent right now.
말씀이신데요. 지난 수요일 박수호 선수가 탈락함에 따라
Last Wednesday, DRG got eliminated, and that makes you Armani the last Zerg survivor in GSL this season.
사실 다전제 준비가 처음이었잖아요.
So this is your first time playing a best of match. How did you prepare for it?
추석 끝나고 나서부터
Well, after the Korean Thanksgiving Day,
토스전이 좀 힘들거든요.
I found out that the DBP is really hard right now. I'm not whining every time. I think all the Zergs think the same.
그때부터 되게 여러 가지
So since then,
준비해 왔는데
I try to think a lot about the matchup.
오늘 잘 통했으면 좋겠어요.
So I hopefully today the strategy works out.
참 안타까운 소식입니다. 자, 다음 주성우 선수
Alright,
바로 만나볼게요. 자, 주성우 선수 2020년 시즌 1, 2 모두
In 2020, you were allocated in the group of death season 1, season 2.
3시즌 만에
So you're
돌아오셨는데
back
어떠세요?
after 3 seasons. How do you feel?
3시즌 만에 오긴 했는데
Well, I'm back after 3 seasons.
8강이란
Yes.
그게 별로 감흥이 없는 게 관중이 없어가지고
But I feel pretty indifferent about this round of 8 because there's no crowd.
저희도 하루빨리 관중분들을 만나는
Hopefully
날이
we have a crowd
왔으면
soon too.
좋겠습니다.
Yes.
오늘 상대가 생애 첫 8강이다 보니까
And your opponent this time is
이런 평가가 있는
Armani is in his first round of 8, so
아무래도
I guess he's an easy opponent, right, Zest?
라인업 중에 제일 좀 할만한 거.
Yes, he is probably the easiest opponent in the round of 8. That is true.
좀 좋아가지고
And I do have a very good record against him. So I think
상대 전적
today
알고
looks good
계시네요.
for me.
항상 자신감이 있으셨나 봐요.
So are you confident today?
최근에 알았는데 잘 몰랐는데 자주 이긴다는 거 알고.
Well, I recently found out that I beat him quite a lot in the past.
네.
So I do have to confidence.
온라인과 오프라인 모두 합쳐서 통합 상대 정적이 16대 42. 굉장히 크게 벌어져
You
있습니다.
are ahead 42 to 16 in the total records, including offline and online records.
경우가 많았거든요.
But in the round of 8, statistics doesn't always dictate the dictate the results of the game. So what do you think, Armani?
제일 하고 싶었던 상대였거든요.
So Zest, I actually wanted to verse against him.
상대 전적 진짜 많이 밀리는데.
And I mean, I am very overpowered in terms of records.
쿨타임 돌 때마다 한 번씩 이기거든요.
But I do beat him like every 3 months.
가지고 오늘이 이제 다시
So
쿨타임
hopefully today's the day I beat him.
풀타임이 돌아왔으니 이번에는 내 차례다. 자, 이렇게 양쪽 모두
So we heard
자신감을
both
확인해 볼
players
수가
talking about
있었는데요.
their
자, 피할 수 없는
strategies before the
대결.
game.
마지막으로 서로에게 한 마디씩 하도록
Before they
하겠습니다.
move
자,
on to
먼저
the stage,
박진혁 선수.
anything you want to say to each other?
오늘 서로
Armani?
원하는 상대 만났으니까
I mean, today we
재밌는
met
경기 했으면 좋겠습니다.
the opponent we wanted
네,
to meet.
밀리지
So hopefully
않는
we have a good
분위기인데요.
game today.
주성욱 선수.
Zest,
3대 0으로 이기고 빨리 가고 싶어요.
I'm gonna win 3-0 and go home
3대0
quickly.
약속을 해주셨는데요. 자, 과연 그 결과대로 이어질지.
How will the result turn out to be?
선수에 이어서 4강에 오를 세 번째
Which one
선수는 누가
will be the
될까요?
one
8강 3경기
Securing the spot in the round of 4.
Damn. I'm going to win
3-0.
3-0 and go home quickly.
All right.
Easy, Zest.
Damn. Yeah.
I've seen Zest confident before. I've never seen him that confident.
Fate of the last Zerg hands on Zest's hands. Oh, hangs on Zest's hands. I'm like, what? That's not.
Hands on Zest's hands. That's my dream.
Hands on Zest's
Hands on Zest's hands.
Hands in Zest's
Can I
hands.
just touch your gamer hands, please, Zest?
Is
so-
this your mouse finger? Wow.
Wow. So, look, I like a good underdog story. I think everybody does. This is going to be hard for Armani, but he's kept the ball rolling. A best of 5 is different, right? I mean, there's going to be a lot more planning that obviously you can go into, and Zest has had that practice before. You know, you have weeks to basically do a deep dive into the matchup and all the different ways that your race can be played against your opponent's race on different maps. The ordering, of course, is very important. So this level of planning, and it's not like Armani hasn't played in best of 5s, but not in a GSL, you know, not a tournament like this caliber, I'd say, where he will have this much planning. Most tournaments, and this is what distinguishes our tournament from other tournaments, is that other tournaments where you end up in a best of 5 in a later part, the tournament was an entire weekend.
Yeah.
This is a tournament that takes months to finish. So I'm really interested in seeing how Armani's going to handle this. I do like seeing players that have not succeeded in the past get risen to this level, and it's really fun to see them succeed. But Zest is definitely a tough one to go against, PVZ.
He can be. You know, I was looking at the map vetoes actually before we went live here, and based on the map vetoes, and it kind of feeds into what we think about Zest, I think Armani needs to play a defensive style here. Take a look here, right? Eternal Empire was the veto of Zest, and Golden Wall was the veto of Armani. I think this tells you all you need to know, because Eternal Empire is our longest map. It's the macro map. It's the hardest one to attack people on. You get longer late games. So Zest is avoiding that. And Zest is a player who likes timing attacks, so I think Armani needs to be on defense this match.
Game 1's ready. Let's go to death, Aura.
영광의 전투가 펼쳐진다. GSL을 위하여. 전투 지원이 들어왔다. 함께 있다. 우린 더욱 강하다. 아프리카 프린스 아르마니 박진. Read your edge game. Zest 주성.
Do you think this is going to be a 3-0? Because I think it might be. I hope it is not, but
No, I don't think it'll be a 3-0, because I don't think Zest is coming in here thinking about playing long macro games with carriers and things like that. I think he's coming in here with very aggressive plans, which again, I feel like the map veto kind of tells you that's very likely, and then you just look at the way Zest plays anyways, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense, because he never really aims for late game.
yeah, he's the
He
mid-game
gets there
timing
sometimes.
Protoss player.
Yeah, he'll just have the sharpest builds that anyone has and try to kill you with them.
I will say, though, you know, unlike, let's say, Parting, where we expect him to do a lot of crazy cheese, but he can play late game very,
Yeah.
very well. I feel like Zest late game is maybe not as good.
Sometimes he
As his
doesn't
mid
have
game.
late game mapped out.
Yeah.
There are times where he'll get to late game and he looks very good. And there's times where he'll get to late game and you'll be like, oh, you just don't even know what to do here.
And that can be a symptom of someone who is so thorough at mapping the mid-game and early game.
Yeah.
That the later part of the game is just sort of, and this is something I had in my play in the past as a competitive player, was I was so caught up in trying to catch them off guard or do special time attacks. If you put me in an organic late game, it was like much harder for me because I just didn't have it as practiced out. Whereas you look at somebody like Stats, that's all he wants to do. Stats is actually a player who's not, I don't want to say curious, not that invested in trying to crush it in mid-game, other than defense. But I don't consider defending to be some kind of.
No, you're right.
Please go ahead.
Well, no, I agree with you very wholeheartedly on that. Let me try to think of the way to say this correctly. I think in theory the way that Zest approaches it is better because you are working on early game and mid game. You notice Stats, like Zest will have a hard time sometimes and just kind of disappear a little bit. Stats, basically when the metagame settles, he rises to the top of the Protoss, right?
Right.
Zest creates the metagame because the early game and the mid game, you always play the early game and then you almost always play the mid game, right? And that's where Zest does most of his hard work. And then the late game is kind of this other thing that can happen if enough things go wrong or enough things go right, but it doesn't always line up into that. So I feel like that's part of the reason that you look at Zest and you're like, oh, okay, this guy is, I mean, he's tied with MC for the most championships in GSLs and Protoss, right? It's him and MC at 2. You know, it's just, there we are.
You know, one thing I was thinking about as well, and I don't think we've really ever talked about this, but, you know, in mentioning that Zest is a player that does timings and has a lot of really strong performance mid-game where he can steer the game to a victory, even though his late game does look a little bit weaker than the other top-tier Protoss is, if you play like Zest and you're good at what you're doing, you don't have to be good at late game. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If you're playing a time and attack game, late game should be insignificant in a lot of ways because you're not trying to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to sacrifice something. You can't You can't be everything at every point. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so
wow.
this is very cool. This is very cool what we're looking at
It's
here.
gonna be a bunch of Void Rays?
Yeah, this should be a Void Ray build. We haven't seen a Fleet Beacon, so well, how could it be anything else? But yeah, it looks like he's going very fast 3 Nexus and then 3 Stargate Void Ray. So, I mean, this is not what I expected exactly. Like I thought it would be more ground-based stuff because he generally does that. But let's see. And another part of this that I want to see is what does he combo this with? Like, is he going to go Adepts? Is he going to go Charge Lots? Is he going to do one of these mass Void Ray into a mass Gateway?
I think I see what this is. First of all, you got to remember, Zest is more known for using Adepts than any other player in the world, right?
Yeah.
He's coming out here with some Adepts. It looks similar to an early Adept pressure build from Zest. And as Zerg is taking the third, oh, well, hold on. He scouted. He sees it now. I was going to say this could be one of these things where in between tech, suddenly you get caught off guard by the Void Rays. But maybe this is robust enough that if it's scouted, it's still fine.
It's hard to imagine. We had a period in Heart of the Swarm where Void Ray Charge Lot was a real composition against Zerg, but it didn't last for that long. People just got kind of good at hitting critical mass, which is generally how you counter, smaller flying units, non-capital ships. Now, there's a lot of Hydras being made. I think if he stays turtled with Queen Hydra, he should be fine. But the one thing I want to see from Armani here is a Baneling Nest. I think that's crucial because no matter what Zest goes with this, Banelings are going to counter it.
Yeah, well, first of all, the Hydras are already organically counter the Void Rays, as long as you have enough of them. But you're right, there's going to be something to
but if it's
supplement
Void Ray Charge Lot or Void Ray Adept, the Hydras will be countered at that point.
I hate to be this critical this early in a best-of-5. Zest is a disaster this game. He's lost 3 Adepts. He lost a Void Ray. He is losing too much stuff.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy there. Can't deny.
And now we have Armani eager to open up the center here by destroying these rocks.
By the way, Zest maxes his economy before Armani by a good deal, right? He hit 66 probes pretty quickly, which is perfect 3-base saturation. So he's got his full economy running, and we're hiding that production tab. But is it Charge or is it Glaives? Tasteless, tell me what you think. Or is it Blink? It could be Blink.
I was thinking Glaives, but maybe it's something else.
Ah, it's Charge.
Charge, okay.
Yeah, get out of here, Tasteless. But no, the Charge makes sense to go with it. But again, this is why I mentioned when you see something like this, you have to think a step ahead. No one's going to actually just kill you with 3 Stargate Void Ray. And before you tweet at me that that's going to happen, you're not good, and these pro gamers are. So you should counter the thing that he's going to do with this, you know? So, like, we don't see that from Armani as of yet. And if he runs into, and I mean, even Storm's on the way, but even just a big group of charge lots with this are going to make it so that the Hydras don't really, you know, just charge lots counter Hydras if Hydras are alone.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, what you were mentioning earlier, Artosis, is basically correct, is that you need something to deal with the ground, because Void Rays alone are not going to win the game. They're a threat, and they have to be responded to, but, you know, there's not going to be more and more and more only air units. So, yeah, Banelings would be a great counter here. Now, both sides are teching up higher and higher here as we go on to 4 bases. Do the Void Rays lend themselves to anything good late game? Because I feel like they usually don't. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we don't see Void Rays as a core unit most of the time.
Well, I mean, right now I can see that my prediction for this was completely off. I thought when I thought of his style and then what he vetoed that he wouldn't be going for late game macro, but it looks like what he's doing is what you just asked, where Zest is aiming towards carrier right now.
Yeah, no,
so
I was
this
on
was
the
a
same page as you.
transition. Like
I thought this was going to be a timing attack for sure.
Yeah, it certainly looked like that, but his economy is absolutely murdering it. So a terrible call from me on jumping to that conclusion that he was going to be going for only timings. But I mean, this is a great counter to what Armani is doing right now as well, right? If your opponent is just turtling against you when you're going for this comp, if he goes into carriers, I mean, carriers are going to, with Psystorm especially, are going to smack Hydra Lurker. You know? It's just, it's not even going to be close.
Psystorm coming down here. And yeah, this is going to be Zest playing into the supreme late game here. Carriers, you need to build up a certain number of them to have pressure, and I wonder if he's going to try to exploit the edges of the map here with the carriers. Now, one thing about carriers as well is that they're not mobile units. They're kind of like Broodlords, right? They're hard to confront head-on, but you can try to attack where they are not. And this could look like some of the, in the past, late-game Zerg games where the Zerg has a bunch of Broodlords, maybe Infestors under it, and the other race is trying to hit the sides where that army's not, in kind of this yin and yang of offense and defense.
Yeah.
So,
well, it kind of looks like the way that this is going, it'll probably be Mass Viper trying to counter this. But feedback is reasonable against Viper now. You know, it's not what it once was, but it's very strong. You can actually prevent it from occurring. So this feels like it's going to be a very turtled, very prolonged game. Now, that being said, the Mothership is coming in. One of the moves that I've really appreciated lately are some of these Mothership recall, you know, based attacks. So maybe we can see something like that, although I'm not like thinking that he's going to do that, but that is a possibility of something we could see here.
yeah, I think that's a really good point. We should definitely watch for that. I think that's very well could be what's happening here. On the Zerg side of things, what do you think about the Lurkers coming down here?
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting to Supreme late game, Lurkers are just like, okay, the best Zerg unit late game is the Viper. After that, isn't it the Lurker? Like in every matchup in the Supreme late game, it's just like, and the thing is, it works perfectly with the Viper because the Lurkers are entrenched, you know, with other stuff, whether that be Hydra, Spore, whatever, and then you just pull stuff into them.
But this appears to be a pure air army. I guess he doesn't need to overmake Lurkers, but it seems like the way you'd want to play against this, as long as you can avoid Psystorm, is just harpoon air unit after air unit with the Viper, and then have the Hydra shoot it down, and try to not eat too many storms. I mean, if you are playing well enough, Hydras don't just disappear under Psystorm. They can be they can run away, and of course Hydras do heal over time.
Well, the Lurkers will help to zone that out a little bit. You know, it's hard to get the High Templars to actually hit where you want when the Lurkers are there with their outstanding range. So, I think it's a reasonable zoning tool here. You know, we used to have Brood Lords doing that job, but the Lurkers do it better nowadays. I mean, getting all the upgrades right now, and I think it is important when you get into this type of situation as a Zerg player to get all the upgrades for everything. And we see, yeah, specifically what I wanted to talk about was the Ultros Cavern, which we see him getting now. We saw that the other day, where you can get into these spots where actually making some Ultras to clear High Templars under the carriers because of their high armor against the damage from Interceptors can be really good. So just preparing stuff like that, I think, is really good.
When you see a bunch of Void Rays picked up like this, one thing I wonder is how much do the Void Rays matter anymore now that we have enough carriers out here? It seems like first of all, in order to get carriers, you have to have enough Stargates, but then you need to at least do something with the Stargates that's going to allow you to exist in the game and not just be attacked and killed. But even though we saw those Void Rays picked off, it seems to me like that's somewhat inconsequential to where this game is at now. In fact, on some level, it might be worth it to lose some of the Void Rays and stock up on the supply with that. So here's that play you were talking about. He's going to draw attention to the right side of the map, but there's going to be a mothership flying into the main, and although there's spores all over this northern area up here, if he gets into the main, there's really not much to defend. But we have 3 spores there. That's basically no spores.
This is fantastic. Like, he's brought all of the attention to the right side of the map, and here we go. He's actually going to recall.
I'm kind of surprised by this.
Yeah, maybe not the best exact location.
Yeah, that's a lot of spores to fight. Now the Corruptors are going to come in here with the Hydras, but is this enough here? Harpoons the mothership mothership, excuse me. It goes down.
Yeah, he's going to recall everything back.
That was, I think, a poor decision. Not too recall there, but that specific area. Recalling the main would have made more sense.
If he had recalled in the main, he might have won the game with the move. Instead, he recalled on top of Lurkers and had to spend every storm right away. The Archons were being eaten up, so the Corruptors counter everything at that point.
Yeah,
that was. But the mothership doesn't detect. So he may have looked at that and been like, okay, I want to kill this base really badly. But then there's like 4 or 5 Lurkers there, right? He brought all the attention of Armani to the right side of the map. Maybe he thought there were no Lurkers over there.
Yeah, but that seems foolish. Because, I mean, going to the main, you're guaranteed to not have Lurkers there.
That's a very good point. I definitely agree with that.
You're guaranteed to not lose the Archon. So I don't know about
definitely agree with that
call.
Assessment.
And by the way, that's sort of like you got one shot to make that move work. You can't make another mothership and then try to fly in the main again here. At least I would imagine.
Well, we're going to see because he's making another mothership.
He's making one, but I mean, by now the Zerg has to be ready, right? I mean, one thing about spores is there is no cap on how many buildings you can make in the game, unlike units that cost supplies. So he can make more drones, make more spores, and then what?
That's a good point. Well, we'll see if that's what he wants to end up doing. I mean, Armani is getting into this type of comp that's so hard to attack into that Zest has to start getting creative in a lot of ways.
He's actually throwing probes away here, and zealots as well. As he just doesn't need the supply in this anymore. These units don't have any real equity.
Yeah, like he's trading 12 zealots to kill 2 spines or something there. Not exactly optimal. Does lose that Nexus. Still kind of just running around. The thing is, we don't see a plan from Zest on how to attack. Again, I do think you need to add Tempests into this army for a frontal attack. If you want to try things at the fringes, then Tempests are not the way, right? Tempests are like straight up a pushing unit where you can tag their flying units and then hit them from a distance, but also eliminate spores very efficiently.
Right.
So the fact that he's making more Void Rays kind of points us towards the fact that he doesn't want to do a frontal push through all the stuff that we see here.
Now, in this moment, is he actually going to be able to snipe this? I think there's too many spores. This is one of the funny things about carriers is if there's enough hitting the air, the Interceptors,
they can be killed.
Yeah, they can be killed off, and then you have to go back and remake. They've got a lot of DTs being made here for Archons.
Well, Zest taking yet another base.
Again, every time you see something like that killed off, the Zerg isn't really trading anything off there.
Yeah. You know, this portion of the game can be really difficult and taxing on both sides. There's like I guess there's like some rules of thumb and stuff on ways to handle these types of situations. Wow, that attack really did a lot. Oh my god.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you go for carriers.
Yeah.
Is that you have one area in which you're untouchable, and the rest it's quite hard to do. Now that Nexus up there, that's funny.
That's a recall.
That's for recall,
Nexus.
yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I really like that type of move. But you see this type of thing going on. This is a problem. I feel like Zest would be best served having multiple oracles and focusing a lot of his attention on keeping the army tagged while he moves. Because, right, I'm seeing these moves over and over where there's like, all right, here's 1,500 minerals of zealots running around, and they literally don't do anything, right? Like, they're bringing a little bit of attention away, and they're killing less than their value in buildings a lot of the time. Okay, well, I mean, getting air upgrades, maybe I'll take it back for this one attack,
actually,
but...
Well, is it going to be saved anyways? There's lots of transfuses here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have the recall. I don't know if it's going to be in this space or if he's going to scoot over.
No, this is drone harass. It's like the BC rush, man.
Okay, he's coming in here now. There's a lot of Archons underneath this, by the way. It's hard to see. But the Archons are required in order to cover.
Honestly, I think when you do that, give that much energy, you need to throw a time warp down too. There's just no reason not to. But
I agree.
Look at this. A lot of Neurals coming out. Oh my god, even... My god, that's a lot of Neurals.
Yeah, I feel like Protoss is just going to lose this fight here. He's going to be able to recall. Now, I don't know if he goes to that Nexus that's adjacent to here. No, he goes back home.
These attacks he's doing don't really seem very efficient.
Well, he's plummeted in supply. The Zerg is actually up in both minerals and gas. Was up in minerals a minute ago, but you get what I'm saying. You're losing huge units that take a long time to build, like carriers and motherships. I know the mothership is sort of expendable post-recall, but that only makes sense if the idea is still there that that army then wins some kind of fight. The fact that he's having fights over hatcheries, which are not even destroyed, by the way.
Well, this move, finally one of these Zealot attacks looks like it's going to pay off.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, there are some Ultras being added in now.
But it can be remade. And again, I think we're a little ways away from having another carrier, if we do have a carrier mothership recall, if that's going to be viable.
Armani scouts that Nexus in the top right, kind of funny. I mean, I love the idea of spreading out Nexuses for recalls and whatnot. Now look at this army going across. This army is just such a pain to deal with, especially when you're on Zealot Storm Carrier. The Ultras don't care about that stuff very much, but oh my god, the DT blink.
Yeah, the DT blink is huge, but there might be too many Ultras down here. I mean, now he's going to get this over here, the Overseer.
Yeah.
The Archons are going to be picked off as well.
The Overseer really saving the day right there. Ultras crushing face right now. Okay, we actually have 4 Tempests. So, it feels like Zest has tried several moves to get a big edge in this game. None of them have worked. They have all backfired.
I think
and
that,
now he's going for the heads-up confrontation, which he no longer has the income to do.
God, the damage that goes up exponentially with that.
I know,
it's kind of funny. Yeah, look, I mean, I don't think we're going to have another late game play like this from Zest. It seems like Armani has really gone step by step in dealing with this and shutting it down and making it, frankly, obsolete. I mean, Zerg is still roaming with a maxed out army, with minerals and actually plenty of gas in the bank. Right now, Zest is living paycheck to paycheck here.
Yeah.
As far as mining goes. He's actually going to also snipe down the mothership. Again, great harpooning here. You know, as even though Corruptors can be somewhat costly compared to carriers,
Yeah.
Corruptors are like air Zergling Zartosis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You're almost happy when they die.
Yeah, you don't care when they die. You can make more of them or make something else.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and honestly, this game, Armani's just outplaying Zest.
Yeah. Well, this is pretty cool considering how confident Zest was coming into this today. He said he was going to 3-0 and leave the studio immediately.
Yeah.
Right now, Armani has dragged this game out by defending everything. And there's just a lack of opportunities on the map right now. You can also see that even as the carrier fleet over here is hitting the left side, on the opposite side of the map, we have Armani just expanding.
Yeah.
You just go where the army's not. And there's not a lot to stop, for instance, Infestor play. Look at that, long-distance mining. Not a lot to stop the Vipers from continuing to harpoon. And as long as the Zerg is patient, I believe the Zerg can eke out ahead. Now, you got to be careful. If you misplay against an army this big and lose the fight, then they can snowball it to a win.
That was cute.
Yeah, that was funny.
He stole a High Templar and stormed the army.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Ultra's coming in. They're going to clear everything underneath in a matter of seconds.
And without protection underneath the army, it's very hard to actually pull anything off. The carriers are going to be going down. Now the Corruptors are just going ham on the remaining carriers, as half the Infestors, or half the carriers have been immobilized by the Infestors. This should basically be the end of the game here.
Yeah.
Armani did it. He won in a drawn-out macro game. Again, Zest not known for being an amazing late-game macro player, more of a timing player. GG, Armani punishes, and now is one step closer to moving on to the round of 4.
So, here's some thoughts on that. I think that Zest's opener was very strong. He got himself into a great position. He got himself an army that he wanted. He had fantastic upgrades. His economy was ahead of Armani's. His army was ahead of Armani's. That first recall we saw on top of the Lurkers was a gigantic mistake. If he recalls in the main base, you can't deal with that with what Armani had at the time, because his Archons and High Templars will kill everything.
It does seem like the carrier tech is hinged upon the recall in the main working, and if you don't make it work there, you've zoned yourself out of any kind of easy victory. Because from there, he did a lot of pressure that was completely impotent on the map. Didn't do much of anything. We're going to go to Game 2 now on Ice and Chrome. Right now, Armani with a 1-0 lead against Zest in this best of 5.
영광의 전투가 펼쳐진다. GSL을 위하여. 아프리카 프린스, 아르마니, 박진. Redo your edge game. Zest, 주성.
So, to jump back and talk just a little bit more about what we were just talking about there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the recall was in the wrong position. If he recalls in the main, it's gigantic. But overall, it didn't feel like he had a cohesive plan, because it was like, okay, we're going to recall, and then maybe we'll try another recall, but also there are some charge lots being sent around the map. And the thing is, all of these are good tactics. It's like, that's a good tactic, and that's a good tactic, and this is a good tactic, but none of it was really working together. He wasn't... The first recall was a perfectly planned, cohesive tactic. He was in one area with his army, drawing the army over there, and then he sent the mothership in for the recall.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic move. We didn't see things like that really set up that way again, and then it's like, okay, you have this army. The full frontal push you need Tempest for, or you need to think about having 3 groups doing things at the same time, rather than let's watch these Zealots go in and all die to Lurkers, and now let's fly over here and kill one Spore and get a carrier abducted, right? It was like the planning was amazing up to the recall, and then after that it was kind of like it looked like he wins most games there, and I could see how. And then after that there wasn't, it wasn't as cohesive, is the best word I can really think of for it right now.
Well, I think the tactic was there, but the execution was absolutely terrible. I mean, not all games lead up to you doing one big late game tactic correctly, but this build is. You need to have the recall, get inside the main, and I think the answer is it's always the main. It's not a. It's
I think you're right.
It's away from spores. I mean, the only time I think you wouldn't want to go to the main is if the main, for whatever reason, was filled with only spores and the other expansion wasn't. The idea is that you need to have enough. You need to have too much, and they need to have too little, and he didn't execute it correctly.
Well, he recalled, like, the mothership saw everything, and he, like, moved it back towards more spores.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's not lurkers in the main.
No.
This is not
There's
a
gonna be
big
lurkers.
cognitive leap that there are not lurkers in the main
Yeah.
base. That would be like...
I mean, let's pretend that there were lurkers in the main. That would be the, like, you know, galaxy brain strat where
Yeah.
you end up. In fact, that's not even a bad idea. If people do, if this starts to become more and more of a thing, is put lurkers in the main.
Yeah.
And then they get caught off guard.
Maybe.
But then again, you don't have that much
No.
supply either. But
Totally.
you get what I'm saying. I mean, it's just odd to recall into one of these corner bases where they're ready for just a zealot run-in and your air army. So,
Well, hopefully, whatever happens this game, it's a little bit cleaner from Zest. I think Armani played a very intelligent, very nice game. I still think he should have gotten the Baneling Nest earlier because, for instance, I don't know what Zest is going to do here, but maybe he does one of these, like, Void Ray Zealot timings or something. Maybe he has multiple builds that look the same, because right now we see him taking that third Nexus, so far it looks like the previous game. I'd be surprised if he does the same exact build, though, right?
yeah.
It's probably more likely that he'll do something else, but we'll see. We'll see. Sometimes you have a build and you're like, no, this is really good. Maybe Zest is going to have us hold his Protoss beer while he shows us how to kill Armani, because he messed something up last game that he really knows about.
Yeah, I am curious.
No, you're tasteless.
No, but seriously, I do want to see what exactly. All right, never mind. I was gonna say maybe he does something more of like a mid-game timing push. Now, I do feel like this is one of these best of fives where Zest may enter into strategic redundancy.
It might be. He's kind of known for doing the same strategy a lot because he figures something new out.
Yeah, the problem though is we're already seeing a lot of what the blueprints of this build basically are, and the themes that the Protoss is trying to engage with that allow him to actually come out ahead here. But again, this looks like it's a slow opening. I mean, and when I say slow, I don't mean bad. I just mean it does take a while to build up. And I don't know. I mean, I would imagine Armani's not going to play worse than game one in this, right?
Well, he's certainly playing different. He already got the melee attack upgrade over halfway done. So immediately when he saw a Void Ray opener, he decided to get that, which is never bad against any flying openers, is to get that melee attack.
Which sounds counterintuitive, but it's
Yeah.
not.
Well, flying units can't really deal with Zerglings. There's too many. They're too quick. It's not. Like, look at that. It takes forever for a Void Ray to kill one. And he already has a Baneling Nest and things, so we could see him ramp up aggression. I mean, this build right now really looks like what we saw the previous game. Maybe from Zest's practice, he realized, you know what, this 3 Stargate Void Ray thing, I can always get the 4th base for free. Because that's kind of what it's looking like right now. Like, I'm looking at this. Is there any way that Armani can stop him from getting a 4th base? Is there any unit composition that can stop him? It doesn't feel that way. Right?
I think you're right. So again, we're going to have Void Rays increment out. I think it's logical that we'll eventually have carriers. I don't imagine this is going to deviate into anything else. It seems like that can only lead up to that point.
Yeah.
Protoss will be taking a 4th base as well here pretty soon. Where I'm not sure, you know, what is the best 4th base spot to take?
One.
I guess, yeah, the one that's just adjacent to the main.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, all the voids coming together. They were all patrolling. You can kind of see this beautiful spread of them on the mini-map. It's a box art army going
box
across.
art army. I was thinking the same thing.
Like, oh yeah, you'll never see units spread like that in a game.
Yeah.
Nah, here we go.
There's normally a Protoss NPC talking right now about your mission as those are flying over.
Artanis needs your help.
Yes.
Like, no, he doesn't. Okay, so, I mean, some nice Void Ray harassment going down. 9 gates being added right now.
Okay, so this is actually very different. I stand corrected. I thought we were going to go right into carriers. He's opening up with this pretty insane Void Ray pressure, but from here he's going to go right into an attack. He's going to kill off a lot of work. This actually might work out really well here. He's going to avoid the Hydras.
Yeah, the Voids are doing a lot right now, but honestly, what we're seeing from Zest, if this turns into the attack it looks like it's going to, would have worked much better in the first game because it was a slow crawl into lurkers for Armani in the first game. Here, he's already got the Baneling Nest, and he's almost got +2 melee. So I look at that, and it's like, look, he's on 91 drones. I think Armani has really adjusted his play And it looks beautiful.
Well, this goes to show you Armani put the time in here. He has put a lot of prep work, and he is ready for pretty much anything. Now, we got to see exactly how the execution of the attack goes down, but yeah, Armani looks very, very good. And again, we kind of thought Zest was going to be playing more of an aggressive series. I guess we still have plenty more games potentially to cast here, but for now, Zest has really modified his style, but Armani has also modified his whole approach to the matchup and has planned very well.
Look at this. Baneling drops +2 is about to finish. So again, you can see these little adjustments. The Void Rays are no longer in a defensive formation. They're with the main army. So the Baneling drop that's coming in, if Zest does not see it instantly, he's going to lose a huge chunk of his economy. Now Zest is going for a bit of an attack here. Baneling speed not quite done, but lots of Banes being made.
Okay, these Hydras doing a lot of damage to the Void Rays. The Zealots need to come in there to get in the front. Again, we want to watch for Banelings connecting here. Psystorm was forgotten. Psystorm is not there. He just started getting it.
Okay, some Stalkers being made. That should be anti-drop Stalkers specifically. Oh, man.
By the way, the Chrono Boost there on the Templar Archives as the Overlord flies over it. You don't oftentimes get to notice your opponent forgot an upgrade.
Well, look at this. Just good old Lingbane Hydra.
Psystorm is one of the really powerful weapons against Banelings, because if you can blanket the area correctly, the Banelings just can't connect to their targets. But with Psystorm still probably about 20 seconds out, there's not going to be much that you can do here. And this is just an insane amount of damage. The Banes are going to go right to the Templars. They're forcing an Archon morph.
Oh my god. Well, that means no storms. And how do you clear all this then?
Yeah, well, that's it. GG Armani 2-0. Zest is getting smashed here.
Armani with the thumbs
Yeah.
up. Well, I tell you, like, I think his reaction to the build game 1 was not optimal, but he was fine because Zest didn't get aggressive. Here in game 2, he immediately went down a slightly different tech path at a slightly different pace.
Right.
He droned quicker. He had better upgrades. He had better counter potential. He had the Lingbane Hydra against this. It looked like I couldn't have mapped out a better way for him to counter Zest this game.
Look at Zest.
Yeah?
He is not thrilled with this here. I mean, this is where reality is really setting in, where one player is actually just outdoing it.
He wanted to go home early, Tasteless.
Yeah.
He might be sent home early.
Yeah, no kidding. He's just now taking his jacket off. He knows he has to win every game from here on out. Armani is completely countering this somewhat novel approach, at least from what we're used to seeing from Zest.
Yeah.
He's handled it very well. Is Zest going to stick with this, or is he going to switch into a different style? Let's find out as we hop into Game 3.
영광의 전투가 펼쳐진다. GSL을 위하여. 아프리카 프린스 아르마니 박진. Read your edge game, Zest.
So I want to tell you about the conflict going on in my brain right now while I watch this, right?
Please.
Because the more I'm thinking about what I'm actually viewing here from these two players, like I'm totally in love with how Armani countered it in game 2. I think that was fantastic. But the more I think about it, I think Zest's build that he has brought here today is really good. Like, really good. When you actually think about this, it looks completely safe for a third base. There might be a little window where someone could do something funky to get your third, but that would be kind of hard to bust out here, and risky as well because of your tech choice of the Void Rays. And then it looks to me like basically you do get a free 4th base and you force them. The only way they could attack you before you max out basically would be with a Lingbane Hydra. So if you know that already, if you can force your opponent into a composition, you should be ahead because of that. So many Protoss builds in the past have been about that, like trying to force them into roaches, right? That was the whole thing about the Archon drop, is you didn't want them to be able to skip roaches. So the more I'm looking at this, I think that Zest's build is actually really awesome. It's just, it's not working out right now, and I think it could be tinkered with a little bit.
Artosis, let me just jump in here, man. Regardless of the ideas at play here, he has failed in execution 2 times in a row.
Yes.
Game 1, he recalls into one of the worst spots you could have recalled into. Plenty of spores and lurkers. So, I mean, thus shooting himself in the foot after all that buildup. Game 2, he forgot Psystorm. We're not seeing clean play from Zest. Armani is ticking all the boxes.
Yeah, yeah.
He is playing, I think, idea-wise, perfectly fine. But he's not missing any beats here. We're not really seeing any major mistakes from Armani at all.
Yeah.
Well, now some players have off days here, but you know, I almost am less interested in the big picture ideas of what Zest is going to do, even though I do like this kind of Void Ray approach, and I think you're right, getting the 4th base for free is pretty cool, and I think you're correct in that forcing unit compositions is a lot of time how you do beat Zerg players, but he's not doing the dance correctly.
Yeah.
He's just missing stuff.
He's missing stuff.
I mean,
There's no question.
We've all had games like this. You miss an upgrade or you just attack completely incorrectly with your army. That's how you lose. And right now, just seeing that he's done it twice in a row, it's hard for me to imagine Zest coming back a 3-0 here and actually moving on to the round of 4.
Oh yeah, no, it does seem impossible, although he's going back into a Glaives build, which is his forte, or it has been this year so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're in agreement there. He's not playing well enough right now. But yeah, I mean, strategically what he's up to is super cool.
Oh man, big scout here too. So he sees, first of all, that there are no Stargates here. There's a Robo. The Citadel is upgrading.
Yeah, good
Twilight
scout.
Council.
Good high quality scout right there. And of course Armani will have played against this a million times. So definitely knows how to play against it. This is a more gateway heavy one, so this looks like it's just a glaive all in.
Yeah.
Whereas some of these builds, like if you go 4-gate, you can kind of build other techs or expand or add other things to it. As we're going up to the 6 gates, or maybe even more than that now, that might be, he might have added a couple more as well, but either way, he needs to do things with this. You can't just pressure with this.
Now, if the Zerg doesn't respect the possibility of how much damage is here, the Zerg can lose. But this is, you know, although, you know, Zest is really what, you know, popularized. He's the guy who made this build trendy in a lot of ways. He's the person who was unstoppable with Adepts, especially at the start of Legacy of the Void. I got to point out, man, like, this is something every Zerg is pretty good at holding now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very strong right in the middle of 2020 here, but, you know, the Zerg's adapted pretty fast. He's not going to commit with those shades yet. You only have so many moments you can try to shade in here. Now, Zerg is making 5 drones. So there's going to be a little bit of a...
Yeah, I think he realizes he has enough for now.
Yeah.
And the Link's coming in at just the right time. Has to cancel once again. Looks like Zest may have hit a slight supply block there, but has those pylons up now. Yeah, look at this. Zest is on 35 workers, so like it doesn't seem like there's another follow-up plan here. This counterattack is very scary. Zest has to dive now, I think.
Yeah, this may force a fight, which may just be playing right now into the hands of Armani. He's going to come forward now. He's able to isolate some of these queens here. Zest is taking out a Ravager. Here come those Links. Decent surround here. It looks like the Adepts want to shade into the 3rd unless he decides to cancel.
Yeah, it's a good shade. I mean, he's got so many Adepts, those Lings going for the counterattack. It's a scary thing, but Zest knew he had to jump right then.
Yeah, this may be enough damage here. Again, you're trying to isolate the units. A good surround here. Not enough Corruptors here to try to shoot down the Warp Prism. So I think he's going to get a Warp in here as he then shades into the main to combo this all together. GG, Zest takes game 3.
All right. So Zest kind of going back to his old ways. Armani, you know, he went for that counterattack, and that's a dangerous ploy.
Zest doing what has worked in the past. The question now is, what does he do the next 2 games?
That.
Oh man, but I feel like that is going to have diminishing returns the more often you do it, right? And it seems like that's a build you have to do once in a best of 5. But there's going to be a lot of different variations and iterations of that.
Maybe Armani thought it was a more Mac-oriented one, where Zest was going to pull back into Century Immortal or
I think
something.
he didn't realize it until he went up to the 3rd. He saw a Stalker was blocking the entrance. He went to the 3rd. There's no 3rd. He's like,
yeah.
Oh, and by then it's too late. By then,
I think
an
that's
ocean
right.
of adepts are shading in.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing you can do.
That is the most likely the explanation of what happened there.
We're going to be going to a short break, and when we come back, game 4 in this best of 5.
상큼한 복숭아가 사이다를 더 청량하게 새로움을 마시다.
울트라 기어로 부드럽게 이긴다. LG 울트라 기어 게이밍 모니터. 울트라 기어로 선명하게 이긴다. LG 울트라 기어 게이밍 모니터.
잡아 킬 흐림님 힐 그렇지 나 힐 이전 쓰리끈 온다 잡아 바닥 바로
From the
beginning.
Hit it, boys.
고고! 핫식스!
성능을 언제 어디서나 가볍게 즐기다. 지포스 GTX 1650 그래픽 최신 인텔 10세대 프로세서 탑재. 고성능 노트북의 새로운 기준 LG 울트라 기어.
디자인을 하면서 가장 중요하게 생각했던 부분은 울트라 기어의 차별화된 브랜드 메시지를 잘 나타내는 것입니다. 신과 영웅들의 최강의 무기들을 검토하였습니다. 그중 니케의 승리의 날개를 모티브로 지금의 울트라 기어의 로고가 탄생하게 되었습니다. 울트라 기어의 이니셜인 U와 G를 비상하는 날개의 형상으로 레드 색상을 사용하여 강력한 에너지와 힘을 나타내었습니다. 울트라 기어는 최상의 퍼포먼스로 진정한 게임의 즐거움, 승리의 기쁨을 여러분께 선사할 것입니다.
Ro.8 Zest Armani.
Welcome back, everyone. Zest has won a game. Thank God for Zest's sake. I was worried this was going to be a 3-0 wash.
Yeah.
Armani is still in the lead. He's been winning in impressive macro games, although Zest has basically missed key moments of execution, whether that be attack positioning or upgrades. Zest did win with a classic Zest build of an Adept all-in, but that'll only carry him into Game 4. What does he do? Does he do a different variation of that build? I think there's a possibility he does a couple different Adept all-in iterations. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Game 4 is loaded up.
공방의 전투가 펼쳐진다. GSL을 위하여.
Oh, a 12 pool.
아프리카 프린스 아르마니 박진영.
I think this is really smart.
I don't know if it's going to work out this time because Zest sent a very fast scout.
Yeah, but I think
I
I
think
think it's a good
smart too,
idea.
though.
Yeah. Well, the fact it's going to be scouted right away is unfortunate. We'd spent so much time talking about what does Zest need to do, but yeah.
But we never ask what should he do.
Yeah, what ought he do?
So this is a fake out. He's trying to pull the probe. In fact, like, okay, now Zest probably knows there's something up.
Yeah.
Because that looked... Armani was trying too hard there with the drone, which might sound weird if you haven't played a lot of StarCraft, but sometimes you can see worker movement like that and be like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're trying to sell this a little bit too much. There's acting in StarCraft. And
Oh,
that
absolutely.
That drone was cheesy as hell.
When you're over moving a unit too much, you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
What are you?
So Zest he's getting out of Zealot. He's making a gate and a core.
This is going to be uncomfortable now for Armani. Again, I like the idea here from Armani, but now this, I mean, nothing's set in stone, of course, but this could be a game that Zest wins, and we're at 2-2, man.
Yeah, it definitely can be. Like, you have to say advantage Zest here.
Again, Zest has more experience in prepping for best of fives of this caliber. GSL is different from other tournaments in how long it takes for us to get through an entire tournament, thus giving players a lot more time to prep.
I don't think it was a terrible call to go for the 12 pool, and it's not game over. Like, you know, you can kind of get into some interesting positions from a 12 pool, even if it doesn't.
He just got us around on the Zealot.
Yeah, that was nice.
Nicely
Good
done.
micro. But, you know, 2 Adepts popping out. I think he should send them immediately, to be honest.
I completely agree. needs to start being aggressive. He's
And
going
look
to
at
fork
this.
the Adepts out in 2 directions just to confirm.
Yeah, he's just zoning Zerglings out, because if they already started walking back, then he can, you know, mess with that.
But now there's an opening here. Just one probe to block. That won't last for too long, but a pylon comes down.
Beautiful. Really good from Zest. And look at this. He's forced 8 more Lings now. How annoying is that? That is, like, these have already killed 4 drones, basically.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, he doesn't want to make those Lings. You're going to have to make some amount, but... Haha. Trapped.
So this game has already become pretty scrappy here. The 2 Adepts are going to try to shade up here into the main.
Yeah, and you can see slightly different micro there from Armani, who's trying to keep the Lings out of their vision, because he actually wants the shade to finish real bad. He wants to be able to surround them and stop having to deal with this right now, but Zest probably won't let that happen.
How troublesome is this really for the Protoss now, do you think?
Oh, I think Zest has an advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is good, right? The 3rd hash is much later, the droning comes later. Yeah, your Nexus is slower and stuff, but, I mean, can you spot anything wrong with Zest's position in comparison to Armani's?
With the Zerg, is there any kind of specific tech you want to go into? I mean, you're playing a game where, on some ways, you're getting lapped, and that's pretty bad in early game. Not a lot of StarCraft 2 games can you stay in if you've already lost some pacing early on.
Yeah, it's a tough question because, like, it really kind of matters on what Protoss is doing, because if Protoss is playing kind of a more laid-back game, if they aren't planning on putting pressure on you,
right,
then what you want to do is drone as quickly as possible, you know, maybe get that 3rd base up. Whereas, you know, what we have going on right here is, like, Zest, it looks like he's just going into a DT-based Archon drop, right? Which is going to put a lot of pressure on. So once you figure that out as Armani, where do you want to go with that? I feel like staying on 2 bases for a while is the right call for him, though. Right? You can kind of, you'll be able to defend everything Zest does. And I mean, I know that the best thing to do as Zerg is to get those 3 bases up quickly, but in this type of situation with a failed 12 pool, I think that you can mess around and do some more tech-based stuff, right? We could see something as crazy as Stormhost Nidus to something like Mutalisk to, you know, maybe you just get Roach Speed and take a 3rd. There's a lot of different options here. None of which are perfect because his opening was not what he wanted.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're trying to basically navigate a game where your decisions that possibly could have won you the game now have put you behind.
Yeah, yeah. It's a common circumstance.
So we're going to have Archon drop Harass, which I think is a smart move here by Zest. It's safe. It's not hard to do. You're pretty much guaranteed to get damage off on them.
Yeah, and there's very little that's scarier than, like, 2-base Roach, to be honest.
Sure.
And, I mean, that's kind of what you're trying to force him into with this. Single Archon coming across at the moment because he doesn't have more gates. I'm sure he'll stop and get another one pretty quickly.
Yeah, here's going to be that second set of DTs being made over here. He'll morph that. He'll then go ahead across the map, and we'll see how much damage he can actually get. Now, both players are taking 3rds at roughly the same time here.
Now, double Evo is going. I find that to be a little bit of an interesting choice. It wasn't what I expected, I guess. Oh. And the harassment so far has been fine. What is Armani's follow-up to this? Because his drone count's okay. He's got his 3rd hatch up now. He's, like, almost on 3-base economy.
I love just going after the Overlords and Overseers. He's actually supply blocked Armani twice already.
And he's removed creep tumors, too, with that Observer. It's really good stuff. Looks like Armani trying for a little bit of a counterattack, not going to get anything done.
Armani fishing for damage, but just really unable to get away with any here. It's hard, too, because, like, Roaches are pretty tough, but Archon Harass versus Ling Roach Queen, you're going to always do damage.
Yeah.
Roaches don't have great range. The fact that Archons are mostly shields and shields can be regenerated, that was close. But as long as the shields can be regenerated, you're not really taking any losses.
Armani continuing to upgrade. +2 attack. I mean, it's always good to get upgrades, right? I don't see exactly where he's going. I guess he's just trying to make the highest quality Roach Ravager army he can at the moment. But the army that Zest is making seems really well prepared to kill what Armani has. You know? If you're sitting there on 1-1 Roach Ravager, yeah, it's great to have that 1-1. But it's going to be Mass Sentry Immortal Blink Stalker with some Archons coming at you.
Yeah.
And that's like pretty darn good against that.
Armani now moving out on the map. I'm actually very excited to see this game pan out from Armani's side, since Armani has mostly either been substantially in the lead or just died to the timing. You know, I think we're going to get a much better idea of where he's at here. Because this is one of the games where, like, if you're way better than your opponent as a Zerg, you can still win.
Yeah. We're going to have to see what type of tactics he takes for taking this fight. The 4th base can't be held, so if he tries to defend it at all against this, then that's going to be a loss. Oh, man, it's tough.
Yeah, he's going to have to cancel this.
Yeah.
Not even enough creep for the Zerg to try to take a fight over here. Another Overseer goes down.
This area is too thin.
Yeah.
Look at this. Like, he's got a good amount of Ravagers, so that's his saving grace here.
He might be able to actually pick off the Warp Prison.
Yeah.
Good cancel, Zest.
He wanted that Stalker Warp in, but you have to. And look, a move like that is good for
Oh
Armani.
my god.
Oh.
Just now noticing this. There's one DT over here.
Yeah, that's a nice move.
I love this. He's going to go hide it again.
It looks like this is about to be 2-2. I can't... Oh, I was recalling it? That's hilarious.
That seems a bit excessive. But,
yeah, a little bit.
Okay, he's going to come in now. The force field's going down. This is a very good arc right now for Protoss, especially with the force fields coming in here, boxing in a lot of these roaches.
I tell you, those Biles killed a lot of sentries very, very quickly there, so maybe not the best control from Zest, but does it actually matter? He has so much more than Armani right here. Now, Armani is doing a counterattack with some Lings.
I don't think it's going to be enough.
No.
I think no matter how many probes you kill with your Lings, you're not going to stop this army from running over and destroying your entire base. And Warpins over time will clean those Lings up. 3 Immortals, too many Stalkers to count. And now over here, in between all of the possible rally points, the Roach War and everything else, we're going to see GG here. Yeah, DT is alone to clean this up. Beautiful play here by Zest. The comeback is real. We're going to be going into Game 5. Right now, tied up 2-2. Armani was close to 3-0ing this. Zest with the comeback. I have no idea who takes us now. Look at Armani.
Well,
this is uncomfortable.
Yeah, you know what? He tried the 12 pool. He was trying to sell it and get the probe to follow his drone. Zest, he blocked it very well, and he did a strong follow-up. Whereas Armani's follow-up, I don't mind how late he took his 3rd there.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, I'm a guy that loves upgrades, okay? As everyone should.
You're
right?
very brave.
Yeah. He got his 1-1.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm big on upgrades.
Upgrades are nice. They make your units stronger.
I don't get any upgrades the whole game. I just don't want to deal
I know
with it.
your type of person, Tasteless, yeah. But, like, what was the plan there? If Zest attacks with something like that, your army will never, ever, ever hold. He had nothing special going on other than the fact he had a Carapace upgrade that Zest didn't have.
I think Armani needs to be not taking risks early on. We're going to go to Game 5 now on Pillars of Gold. The last game between these two. The winner goes on to the round of 4 in the GSL.
GSL을 위하여. 아프리카 프린스 아르마니 박진영. We do your edge game. Zest, 주성.
Okay. Just the quick scout there by Zest.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by the quick scout.
What do you want to see from Zest, Tasteless?
Honestly, I would
honestly.
say something like we saw in Game 3, a different iteration of an Adept play. I mean, Zest, I think, has the widest range of different Adept timings.
Okay.
And the fact that this best of 5 has mostly avoided games of Adept timings means he hasn't spent a lot of the different builds and the rotations of them that he could use, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the first 2 games were basically failed carrier tech. I definitely don't want to see that from him unless he really thinks he's ironed out all the creases in his play. This does not appear to be a game where Armani is going to take a risk and then Zest just gets ahead because the risk doesn't work. I mean, for instance, Game 4 is probably the most straightforward of all the games.
Yeah.
Armani tried to surprise Zest, and it didn't work, and Zest, because the surprise didn't work, Zest took a lead, he handled it well, and he just drove that to its logical conclusion, which is Protoss stays ahead and wins. This game, I think Armani's going to play, I imagine, safer. I don't feel that Zest has proven that he can win with really drawn-out attack like with the Stargates and everything else like that. I think, yeah, I think a depth timing is in order, and I think since we've only had one that he did that worked, I think you do a different variation of one, maybe the same one, I'm not sure. But to answer your question, if I had to see that, I think Zest needs to go lean into his aggressive style that has worked in the past.
Okay. Well, he is making the Twilight. So,
and again, the only reason
it's
why
likely that you're right.
the only reason why I think this is the way to do it is because we've neglected this play for most of the series, with the exception of one game. A lot of the games that we've seen Zest lose in the past, he gets 1 or 2 wins off, but he's doing the same kind of style over and over. And by then, the Zerg has pretty much figured out everything they need to adjust to.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess what's left to see is how many gates he's going to end up making here to see how committed he is to this
22
attack.
links.
Wow.
22 Zerglings here coming out.
Okay.
That's, now you get Zerglings against this build, but not that early.
No, he's going for a bust.
Yeah.
With the drones, with the
Wow.
drones! Oh my god.
Oh no. Oh, well. Is he going to be ready?
He's got multiple areas he can rewall.
Yeah, that's true. The question is,
Zest might be all right here. Let's see how quick he reacts. Here it comes. Okay, he's got that second. Oh, the drone's getting in the way. It's so hard to rewall in a situation like this.
the drone's getting a little bit weaker. The links are still through.
Uh-oh, really bad news right here. He's trying to make shield batteries. They're not coming up in time.
Nothing even to shield battery with here. The pylon's going to go down, stopping the warping.
Oh my
Armani's done it.
Yeah, that is going to be that. GG, and Zest is out in the round of 8. Armani, on his first round of 16, makes his first round of 8, which brings him into his first round of 4.
So crazy. What a story. One of the big underdogs of GSL is now in top 4, defeating one of the most accomplished Protoss players of all time.
Yeah.
And I think this shows excellent planning in a best of 5. He took a risk in game 4. It didn't pay off. I thought he was going to go into defensive play. I think Zest did too, judging from the build. Armani went even further into a more aggressive style of play. Zest was caught off guard. The drones showed up. Nothing could be blocked off there, and Armani wins. Let's go to that interview now.
Yeah.
Wow, what a performance from the underdog Armani.
축하드립니다.
Congratulations.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
오늘 풀세트 접전을 통해서
And it was a
생애
full
첫
set match.
GSL 4강에
And this is your
진출했습니다.
first
소감
GSL
어떠세요?
round of 4 in your life. How do you feel?
오늘 제가 좀 다양하게 준비를 했는데
Well, today
주성호
I
선수가
prepared
하는 거
various
보니까 다
strategies.
생각하면서 하더라고요. 그래서
And I felt like Zest
거의 모든
knew
게임이
what I was gonna do.
연습 솔직히 마지막 필러스 빌드도
So everything I had to
준비한
do
게
today
아니에요.
was
그냥
improvised.
그냥 했어요.
And the
그냥
last strategy in the last
사실
set
그
was also
빌드
improvised as
예전에
well.
강민수 선수가 GSL에서 사용을 했었고
And the
그
strategy
빌드의
used in the last set
원조가
was
박진혁 선수로
something
저희가
that
알고
Solo
있었는데
used before.
그걸 다시 꺼낸다는 좀 부담감이 있지 않았나요?
So were you nervous using
네,
that strategy?
그래서 이게 이사기 형이 알려준 빌드인데
Yes,
2차
definitely.
때부터 제가 쓰려고 아껴뒀던 건데
So Parting actually told me this strategy.
뭐 민수랑은 좀 소통에
And I
문제가
was
있어서
actually
민수
saving
먼저
this for later.
모르겠어. 필러스 시작하는데 이제 상대가 차원 관문 빠르게 누르는 거 보고 우주 관문이
In
아니라
Pillars
확실히
of
드는
Gold,
순간
I knew that
그
the
빌드가 갑자기 너무 하고
I knew
싶은
that
거예요.
Zest was
그냥
gonna go
여기에
for
내
the warp
운명을
gate,
맡기자.
and I saw that, and then I
좀
immediately
미신
knew
페이스가
that I
아닌
had
것
to
같다.
use this build no matter what.
그리고 주성호 선수가 이제 저한테 우주 관문 하다가 1, 2세트 졌잖아요.
And you know,
그래서
Zest
우주 관문을
actually
안될것
lost to me
같다니까 황홀로 3,
going for the
4세트
gates
바꾸신 것
in the
같은데
first game, in
그래서
the second
5세트도
game.
뭔가 우주 관문 안 할 것 같은 느낌이 들어서 그래서
So I had a feeling that he was not going to go for the Stargate in the fifth set. And my prediction was correct.
확인을 해봤습니다. 사실 오늘 경기 보면서 재밌었던 게 이미
So the
2세트
interesting
끝나고
point
엄지척을
of today's match
하셨잖아요.
was you actually did a thumbs up
생각하고 계셨나 봐요.
after winning the second game. So what was that about?
했는데
You actually wanted to send him home quickly.
영호 형이 준 필살기가 있었거든요. 근데 주성호 선수가 그걸 생각하면서 하더라고요. 그래서 즉흥으로 그냥 운영했는데
So I actually went for a macro in the
1,
game.
2세트를 뭔가 좀 완전 운영으로 이겼다 보니까 실력에서 좀 이겼다 해야 되나?
I mean, in the first game and the second game, I won with macro, so I actually got a lot of confidence since I did win with pure skills.
부족이지 않나. 이미 2대0인 순간부터 좀 들떴던 게.
And I feel like I was too happy after my second game,
네,
so that's why I
말씀대로
lost
오늘
third and
경기
fourth.
중에 그 1세트 승리가 굉장히 인상적이었습니다.
Yes, I mean the first game was definitely very fabulous.
정말 손이 많이 가는 후반 경기를 저 마법 유닛도 상당히 잘 쓰시더라고요.
In the late game, you used the magic units so well, like the investors.
네, 제소라는 주성호 선수가 저 빌드 할 거 알고 저렇게 완전 똑같이 할 거
In
알고
Zest
있었어요.
aura, I knew that Zest was gonna go for the exact same build.
저게 파괴할 방법이 없어요.
And there's no solution to that build, to be honest.
않고 제가 보기에 저게 제일 좋은 빌드 같은데.
I think that's the best build for the portals right now.
이거는 답이 반땅밖에 없다 해서.
So I knew I had 50% chance to win that game.
대엽이 형이 있기 때문에. 대엽이 형이랑 연습하다가
and I was actually scrimming with Zest.
해보니까 좀 차이를 느꼈습니다.
And then I played with Zest today, so I knew that playing with Zest definitely made it easier to play against Zest today.
있었다는 얘기 같은데요. 자, 박준혁 선수의 4강 진출 시즌 3 돌풍의 핵으로
Alright, Armani, you secure your spot in the round of 4.
다음 경기에서
And your round of 4 opponent will be decided in the later match, which is between the junior members Maru and Trap. Who do you want to play against?
상상을 해봤어요. 만약에 4강을 가면 누가 더 좋을까?
I actually did some imagination before coming here.
4강이란 무대 자체
who I wanted to verse against.
저한테 되게 높은 곳이고 솔직히 누구나 다 잘하잖아요.
And then round of 4 was something that I thought I would never be able to get to.
제가 피하는 선수 없이 다 이겨야 된다.
And my mindset right now is that I have to beat any player that gets in my way right now.
성주랑 좀 했거든요. 그때 생각이 바뀌었어요. 성주랑 하면 절대 못 이길 거야.
And I actually played with Maru before, and then I realized that if I play against Maru, I'm never gonna be able to win.
뭐 내가 무조건 이겨야 되는 상대고 뭐고 지금 아직 내가 준비가 안
So
된
Maru
것
is
같다.
not an opponent I can beat.
근데 물론 성호 형도 엄청 잘하잖아요.
And I know Trap is a phenomenal player,
되게 많이 지는데.
and I did lose to him a lot in the past.
약간 제가 주성호 선수랑 비슷한 것처럼.
But I feel like Trap is quite similar to Zest in a way that I beat him once in every like 3 months.
그래서 저는 성호 형이 좀 더 나은 거예요.
So if I had to choose a preference, it would be Trap as my opponent.
선수에게는 또 어떤 모습 보여주실지
How will he perform against
기대를 하도록
Trap
하겠습니다.
in the later match if he does advance?
정말 기대가 많이 됩니다.
Alright, this is your first round of 4.
한마디
Before you
들어볼게요.
go, anything you want to say?
우선 연습 도와준 뭐 이삭이 형, 기웅이 형,
Well,
지현이 형,
thanks to
대엽이 형,
Hurricane, Stats,
한솔이,
Harding,
현우.
Zaun, and everyone else for
이 중에서 이삭,
helping me with the
대엽,
scrims.
지현, 기웅은 제 24강 때부터 전부 다 도와줬거든요.
I mean, these
특별히
scrim
더
partners
진짜
have helped me since the round of 24,
고맙다고 전하고
so I'm
싶고.
always thankful to them.
아, 그래 4강이 한 명만 더 이기면 결승이잖아요.
And from the round of 4, you know, if I just beat one more player, it's the finals.
게이머가 다 비슷하겠지만
And I'm sure all the pro
어렵게
gamers
이제
think the same.
결승 무대에서 게이머들 경기하는 거 보고 프로 게이머 꿈꿨을 텐데.
You know, I've always imagined myself in the final stage watching the pro gamers.
제가 TV에서 보던 큰 야외 무대나 관중 많은 그런 무대는 아니지만.
So despite the finals not being like a big one with a lot of crowd,
남았으니까.
I have one step left for the finals.
게이머를 꿈꿨고 왜
I want to remind myself why I wanted to become a pro gamer in the first place.
열심히
And I'm going to try my best
결승 갈 수 있도록
until the final stage.
사고 쳐보겠습니다.
네, 사고 쳐보겠습니다. 저희는 기대를 하도록
Alright,
하겠습니다.
we'll look forward to your
다시 한번
plays,
생일 첫
Armani.
4강 축하드립니다.
Once again, congratulations. Thank you.
Hell
네,
yes.
이렇게
Hell
이번의
yes.
핵심 박준혁
Yeah.
선수
It's never too late,
만나봤는데요.
man. Keep
계속해서
trying,
GSL
keep training.
이벤트 안내해드립니다.
Armani was always a player who was, again, in the background of the GSL. He was not a player we ever thought of being in the Final Four. He's been beating incredible player after incredible player, and it's showing that his planning is really working out.
Yeah.
Now, I think
good plan.
Whoever he faces in the round of 4, it's going to be a huge challenge, but it's hard to not root for him.
Absolutely. He almost retired. He was very close to it. He decided to keep playing, and here he is. I mean, round of 4, dreams come true.
We're going to have a short break. We come back, our next best of 5, the last one in the round of 8. Don't go away.